Hello, and welcome to the Arcade Era Power Hour, episode 10. Joining me today, me being I am Gibbon, just in case you'd forgotten, or I'd forgotten, is
I
my...
forgot.
It's me, IR Milo.
Yeah.
Classic.
And as you may have noticed, we have a friend here today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm not going to introduce myself. I don't need one.
So,
Everyone should know who I am.
So this is our friend Tonya.
Who needs no introduction.
Who needs no introduction. Friend of the site, friend of us in
Yes.
real life, member of the community.
I've been to E3, you know.
Evil bean person,
Evil Duck.
evil duck,
Evil.
evil intellion.
Well, I don't think the duck character's evil.
Oh,
They're more-
okay.
They're more.
Sorry, the Jinjo's
eccentric.
evil.
Oh, the
Ninja's
ginger,
evil.
yeah.
The
Um,
Italian is evil. The Sabo is indifferent. I have a billion
just
characters.
cold indifference murders you from afar. But yes,
Anyway, this is our friend Tonya.
friend Tonya, who will be joining us today to lend a more knowledgeable voice than we to the topic of 80s video game serials.
Yes. I obviously have not tried any of these series because that's impossible. And I'm sure for everyone else here, it's also technically impossible, maybe. I forgot how old Gibbon is, but...
I'm in my 30s. I probably could have snagged a box of these depending on how long they ran.
That is correct.
But yeah, before we get started though, just a couple notes, news updates and whatnot.
Couple notes.
Yeah, that's right. The first one I had was that our episode on Slam Dunk Kong was working with incomplete information. So we did a podcast episode about Slam Dunk Kong last year. It's a Taiwanese DOS game that rips off Donkey Kong Arcade and Donkey Kong Country, as well as the Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City basketball platformer game.
As well as a basketball manga and some other things.
Oh, yeah. And King of Fighters, yeah. Rips off homages, whatever you want to say it. But at the time, the version of the game that we had access to was, we think, the floppy disk release. And by searching on Chinese language sites, which I really should have done earlier, I managed to find an alternate release, which the theory is that it was a disc-based version of the game, and as such, it has extra music. So this alternate release does, in fact, have music playing during the levels, as well as an alternate title screen track. So it's a much nicer experience to play through that version.
It's like the, what do you call it? It's like the Game Boy Advance version of Donkey Kong Country.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I'd say it's
Okay,
it's more like, I don't know. This was fairly common back in the day because it was from a time period where sort of systems were transitioning.
It's like Super Mario All-Stars of Super Mario World.
No, because like the graphics are basically the same. It's just like
They are the same, yeah.
one has actual background music and stuff.
Yeah, that's really the only difference that I could identify. Even the file size between the two is really similar, so it doesn't even make that much of a difference. But
It's like playing Mario and Luigi's Superstar Saga on the Game Boy player.
it's not like that.
Yeah, maybe. Who's to say?
Wow. Anyway, our second update is a small correction to some info from last week, where I said that I thought Poison from Final Fight predated Birdo, which is incorrect.
you were
it's the other way
wrong.
around. I was wrong. And shout outs to community member Laura Lane, who not only listens to our podcasts, but gives me follow-up feedback on them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And she
That
brought
is
it to my
correct.
attention that I got my dates mixed up, and Final Fight came out in '89, 2 years after Doki Doki Panic. So Birdo is, in fact, Nintendo's first transgender character, and possibly just the first transgender video game character in general. So yeah.
Hallelujah. Amazing.
While
Fantastic.
we're on the topic, I wonder if you have any thoughts on Birdo, Tanya, that you want to share with us.
Birdo's a complicated issue to talk about because in her first incarnation and in some occasional appearances, it's a joke that she is transgendered, and often it's used in a very jokey, dismissive tone, basically.
Yeah.
I.e., like, I believe the original instruction manual for one of these games said something to the effect of Birdo thinks he's a woman, which is a dismissive, outdated take.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's just sort of cultural at the time. Like,
That doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't make it okay, but it
like,
adds context.
Japan's always been sort of like, they've been
Weird
much
about
more
everything.
accepting of transgender people existing, but on the other hand, their language for them is a lot cruder.
Correct.
Like, oh hey, yep, they're around. We're gonna be kind of derogatory towards them. So
It's something like, and
yeah.
I don't blame anyone for being a fan of the character who, because what I feel is that there's some characters that people take, they give them their own life. That okay,
as a character, she certainly doesn't care what you think.
Right. As a, like people take these characters and make them their own thing. So Birdo has been adapted to fandom as a a transgendered character, and it's very nice.
Reclaimed as a positive icon.
Yeah, that's basically what I mean.
In general, Nintendo tends to have a lot of LGBT characters. Well, as far as like long-standing companies like this go, like I don't really think Sega or Konami or Capcom or any of the other sort of companies that have been around for a while and have a variety of series under the belt have quite as many LGBT characters as Nintendo does. Just between like Birdo and Vivian and random Pokemon stuff and things like that.
Pokemon is honestly, in general, pretty progressive compared to other Nintendo games. Which I'm going to make a really dumb take here, and I'm going to even say that the fact that Pokemon games reference modern culture more than other Nintendo games is a sign that they're more hip. I'm being terrible. I know I'm trying to make an actual point that Pokemon games in general feel more modern than other Nintendo games, and that's like in a general everything basically, like in terms of having LGBT representation, in terms of having just general more technological like references.
I suppose that's fair.
Which is ironic considering that Pokemon is often considered a poorly made game.
Like, I just finished my first Fire Emblem game ever, a run-through of 3 houses, and that has just... I was astounded that, like...
I was astounded they got another Smash Brothers character.
Come on. But yeah, there's just a bunch of bi and gay characters in the game, and you can have same-sex romances and stuff. And not just the player, like there's canon lesbians and stuff on the cast to get together in the endings. Yeah, like there are characters who only pair up with other characters of the same gender in the game and stuff like that. Like regardless of what you, the player, do. So, yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So Nintendo's pretty good about that, even if some of their takes on things are a bit outdated sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's quite hit or miss.
Yeah,
it's how you look at these things basically. Which and I'm appreciative of some things because I am a genderqueer, and it's hard to say. I'm not prepared to talk about this subject right now, so
no worries.
What I'm going to say is that I like that Birdo has stuck around as a main Mario character, and in modern games, for the most part, they use her proper pronouns. Yeah. Whenever or not that's a conscious decision or whatever, it's nice.
Yeah.
Well said. And thanks for your input. I do understand that we sprang that on you. We're really here to talk about cereals, so shall we get to it?
Right.
Yes, that's the thing that I actually know what I'm talking about. Well,
Just pretend. We won't know the difference. We can edit this out in post. I promise. It'll totally. Anyway,
you see.
cereals.
Well, we have to start back in the 1900s.
What?
There was this man named Kellogg,
Oh God.
and he thought.
I think we've
No, I'm
gone
not
too
gonna-
far back.
I'm not gonna make this joke. It's not the right kind of joke to make right now.
Okay, so
I'll tell you later.
1982.
Yeah, we're only going as far back as 1982.
1982, the height of Donkey Kong mania. Like, America has run out of quarters. The West is in flames. Cereal is released. Unto the masses was brought Donkey Kong breakfast cereal.
Yes, so this was a time of high-pitch Donkey Kong fever, and when Nintendo was licensing out their characters for a bunch of different kinds of merchandise.
Yeah.
And so here we have the very first ever video game-based cereal, Donkey Kong the Cereal,
Yeah.
by Ralston.
Ralston.
Ralston doesn't do cereal anymore. They still exist as
Well-
a food company. Some parts were acquired by Nestle or something, but they spun off their
As I
breakfast
found out,
division,
is that,
and that was acquired by General Mills.
In some cases, they still provide store-branded cereal too,
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
Okay,
they do?
that's
Huh.
interesting.
which I'll bring that up once we're done talking about Donkey Kong cereal.
Okay.
Which I have a theory about that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's very exciting.
So
So what is Donkey Kong cereal?
It's Captain Crunch.
that is what it is.
Yes. As you say, a lot of these licensed cereals that existed at the time, and there were a lot of them, the E.T. cereal, the Mr. T cereal, etc., C-3POs.
C-3POs is really cool. They look like double, look like figure eights.
Huh.
It's
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
pretty
So a
neat
lot of them
idea.
were takeoffs of existing cereals that were popular at the time. So this one was sort of a riff on Captain Crunch, as you say.
Purely identical, basically, because the Captain Crunch cereal pieces are the square, just unidentifiable square pieces, which these are supposedly barrels, which is very easy to make identical, basically. Even Quaker Oats ripped off Captain Crunch several times by just using the same cereal formula for different, I think the three ripoffs are King Vitamin, Quisp,
I remember
and
King
Quake.
Vitamin.
They're all basically Captain Crunch, so it's a good formula.
So what is Captain Crunch? It's made of corn, right? And
I believe it's corn and oats.
Ostensibly
Yes.
made of corn.
Yes.
I'm not
And
sure I
it's
believe it, but yes.
and it's
Yeah,
very
it has-
sweet and it's very crunchy.
Brown sugar, and it's super crunchy. And it's known for ripping up your gums, basically.
Yeah,
Yup.
that's the whole hook of it, is that it's crunchy and it retains that while soaking in milk
It's
before getting soggy.
And
they're these mascots.
And because it's so hard in that way, that's the only thing I hear about it, because we don't have Captain Crunch in Australia. But what I hear is that a lot of people cause damage to the inside of their mouths by
Yeah.
eating it. Yeah.
And when we say the cereal is just Captain Crunch, we mean that they it's the exact same thing. They didn't even change the shape of the cereal. They're just like, oh no, it's barrels. Trust us.
In the commercial, they make like a huge emphasis on the crunch that
Yeah.
you love.
Lord,
And
do
Mario's
they?
I think Mario is destroying barrels with his
Yeah.
hammer. And it's the
Let's
crunch sound
talk
effect.
about the commercial for a little
Yeah.
bit. Actually,
It's a pretty good commercial.
it is a pretty good
Your first
commercial.
impression is usually a commercial for these things.
even if I find the crunching horrifying on a soul destroying level, it is a well done commercial. And there's a couple variations of it because this cereal was on store shelves for a few years, and they
apparently
didn't just run the same commercial over and over again.
But it's got all the important factors of a good cereal commercial. It's got a catchy jingle, crunchy barrels of fun for breakfast. It's got cartoon, hand animated cartoon characters
Yeah.
So they have DK and Pauline and Mario
Mm-hmm.
reenacting basically the game in except climbing up the cereal box and stuff. And there's even in the later variation voice acting for Mario and Pauline.
Mm-hmm.
So Pauline, in her typical
right.
role, shouts, "Help, Mario, save me!" And Mario is given a stereotypical Italian accent, right?
Yeah. A bit Martin-esque.
It's pretty good.
Martin-esque. Yeah.
Mar-
Evocative of later performances by Charles. And I note in the like 1984 variation of the commercial, Mario's design has been adjusted a little bit to match what he looks like in the Saturday Supercade cartoon show, which would have started would have been in its second season by that point.
That's interesting. I didn't notice that. The voice isn't the same though.
No, it's not at all, because in the show he's just some typical white guy voice. So.
And as far as the other two characters go, they look very much like their standard depictions at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Blonde Pauline, DK's a gorilla.
I'm not actually sure where this Italian voice came from.
Mm.
Do you think this might have been like the first instance of him having the stereotypical Italian voice?
There must have been a commercial for the game itself that was before this that used it,
Well,
or used something similar.
I don't think Donkey Kong, the arcade game, well, maybe the ports had commercials, but that's
there's commercials for the
Yeah.
console ports and the Game and Watch and stuff.
it's
Mhm.
a port for the Atari. That's how.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
I
how
can't
big Nintendo
recall
was.
offhand what his voice was like in the commercials for them.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the commercial for the home port of Donkey Kong Jr. and Evil Mario just has sort of a generic bad guy voice with this huge fake Italian mustache. And that's 1983. And yeah, I don't know. It could be. This could be it, guys.
It could be. Interesting.
Could have been it.
As far as other things that maybe happened first in this commercial, I noticed that during it, Mario's bouncing on a trampoline to get enough height to get up to where DK is in this version of it, while the kids crunch on their cereals. What does he say? You're gonna bounce, I'm gonna jump, something like that.
Yeah.
You can see how broad the accent is in that. But the fact that he's using a trampoline for that, I was wondering if that's the first time in Donkey Kong lore that a trampoline has been featured.
Mm.
The first time. Crazy, right?
Because I know Junior bounces on trampolines in the sequel.
And trampolines are thrown at you by Donkey Kong.
Oh, in 75 meters, yeah.
Or springboards of some form.
Those were trampolines, or what? I always thought they were like a monster.
They're colloquially called trampolines. They're supposed to be sort of construction. I don't know what the correct term is for. They're like sort of jacks that you jack stuff up with. I think
you see them in Super Mario Brothers as well.
I love the theme. I love the sound they make, which is just the. It's a pretty good.
They're a
memorable
real
sound.
pain to get by. They're one of the parts that messes up like people
It's
trying to
really
get high
weird how
scores
some
because
levels in Donkey Kong.
you gotta kind of memorize the bounce arcs.
Yeah. Some of those levels don't have any music, and that's one of them where the only music is that those trampolines bouncing. It's really weird.
I'm willing to bet there is music. It's just being overwritten by the trampoline sounds because there's only one sound channel.
Yeah, it's
Anyway, these are good commercials. They have good hand-drawn animation. The crunches just whittle away at my soul because they just have the one crunch soundbite.
It's a whatever cereal, I guess.
Play over and over again with different shots of the kids gnashing their teeth together.
That really is a take on Captain Crunch. Like it's super obvious, but I'm not gonna complain about that.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to bring up about these cereals was that they often had these extra promotions attached. So it wasn't enough for your favorite characters to be on the box or for the cereal to be vaguely shaped like something from a game.
Vaguely
they're
shaped?
always-
Excuse me, Milo. This is cornerstone of art.
Whatever you say, Tonya.
Cereals are art. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not in this case, but it's cheap cash in.
Absolutely, and as such, they try to amp up the appeal to the kids by having these kind of promotion things. So there's giveaways, there's mail-in purchase things, there's prize draws.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, they advertised on the back that you would get, I think it's 2 free stickers in the box, and from what I could tell, these were a subset of the Tops sticker line that we've seen.
Oh, the honk if you donk stickers.
Yeah, things like that. Or what's the other one? I eat quarters or something.
Yeah. I love the Waluigi looking Mario where he's just long stepping across and stuff.
Waluigi was based on Mario, obviously. That is Waluigi, basically. He was originally a stunt double for Mario. That's
Ooh.
that's my fanon.
Yeah, back before Mario lost a lot of height.
Mm.
But yeah, it was a collect all 12 situation.
Yeah.
Whereas the actual Tops line has more than 12, so it was a subset of it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And there were like scratch offs and stuff. This Mr. Breakfast cereal site we've got up has scans of various like scratch off cards and activity things.
Yeah, we got a lot of information from this episode from Mr. Breakfast, which is a great resource, as well as some different YouTubers.
It was quite a trend back then to have like baseball cards or some other tacky gift attached to your cereal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, baseball cards was another thing that they gave away in the Donkey Kong cereal at different times. So I guess when they ran out of stickers, they started giving away baseball cards. But they also had other things. There was a mail-in purchase order form that you could cut out and send money to get a shirt, a long-sleeve shirt that had a decal of Donkey Kong key art on the front.
And really, is there anything more valuable than that? I don't think so.
What about that plush toy of Donkey Kong that had the Donkey Kong art printed on its chest?
I still want one of those. I should grab one
that
off
thing.
of eBay.
That was so weird.
That is the best Donkey Kong toy ever.
It's so off-model.
Off model for the 80s. I mean,
On model for the 80s.
have you seen those vintage Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse plushes?
I have seen some
They
of
look,
them.
they look
yes.
better than that.
Anyway.
But this cereal is just Captain Crunch, so I mean.
So at another time they had this random draw prize pool thing, where if you got the correct voucher from inside the cereal box, you could win Donkey Kong shoelaces, a Donkey Kong sleeping bag,
What the hell?
a copy of the Donkey Kong Game & Watch, a home console of some kind with the Donkey Kong port. I'm not sure which one it is, Atari or Intellivision or something.
That's how old
Didn't
this
recognize
is.
it from
Ford
sight.
and NES.
But the grand prize was an actual arcade cabinet of Donkey Kong.
Which is
for your own
insane
home.
because those cost like $1,000 today. So imagine how much they cost back then.
Well, there's probably just one in the whole prize draw.
Probably.
Yeah. Or if there even was one, maybe.
Might have just been a scam.
Yeah.
There's,
Get you to buy the cereal.
if I recall, there might have been like a. Well, no, because there's usually regulations for contests for kids, I believe.
Oh,
so
that's true.
there has to be at least one that existed as part of the marketing budgets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those regulations exist now, but did they at the time?
That's true. I need to dig deeper, and we'll offer a correction later on, I guess.
But yeah, so had all that
Yeah,
stuff going on, stayed on shelves for several years, was in an episode of Mr. Rogers.
Sure.
You can't get any better than that.
I know, right? Ringing endorsement right there. even if it was just Mr. Rogers walking through the cereal aisle.
But you see, Donkey Kong is old news. However, his son got really popular.
He did, yeah. Although the Donkey Kong cereal was still on shelves alongside the new Donkey Kong Jr. cereal.
Oh yeah, it would have been.
And this one's interesting.
This is 1983.
1983.
Ralston again put out a sequel cereal accompanying the sequel game, the Donkey Kong Jr. cereal.
I noticed they're like a year behind the games with these cereals.
Yeah, well, it takes time to work out.
You don't know if it's going to be a success right away.
I suppose that's fair.
That's how it was, and when this cereal, that's why we didn't get a Stanley the Bugman cereal, unfortunately. Well, the game was probably still. What's the success rate on that game?
We didn't get a Mario Bros. Cereal either, so yeah.
Yeah, I thought that would be a no-brainer, but when I searched, I couldn't find that.
Yeah. This one again is sweetened corn puff stuff, but it's fruit flavored this
not so
time
crunchy.
With banana and berry shapes. They just look like Trix to me with less.
Since it is corn, it's basically Trix. Yes.
Yeah, it looks like Trix, but they've taken out half of the shapes.
Well, this was before Trix did the thing where they had strange shapes, because originally Trix was just corn pieces that are colored.
Oh, was it? Huh.
Yes.
Interesting.
The other shapes didn't come until the 90s, I believe.
Oh, wow. So Trix was ripping off this? Oh, my goodness! I wonder if we can track down what other cereal this might have been ripping off. Anyway, it was I don't know. It's bananas and something. Are these supposed to be cherries? What are these supposed to be?
They said berries.
They're just brown corn pieces in the end of the day.
Red berries. Notable about the Donkey Kong Jr. cereal is it sports Donkey Kong Jr.'s best design to date.
Agreed.
It's a pretty good one, honestly.
It's a pretty good one. He drops the circus muscle suit.
Yeah, the leotard.
And has a jersey.
With a big J on it.
With the big J on it. It's
that's
very
his staple, yeah.
Good looking. I think it animated well. Upon watching the commercial for this cereal as research for this episode, I'm convinced that the picture on the front of the cereal box is just some cell art from the commercial.
Man, fair enough.
My only
it's a
issue
good design
is,
and good commercial.
Is that I believe the Donkey Kong cereal was better at being game accurate, but I mean this is a different interpretation entirely. So
I mean, there are fruits in Donkey Kong Jr. You drop them on enemies, but it's just Donkey Kong Jr. on the box. You don't see Donkey Kong or Mario there at all.
True. And he's swinging on a vine. You said it's a jersey. I'm not sure if we're having a language barrier there, but it looks like it has trouser legs attached or short legs, like it's a one-piece.
So it's a onesie jersey.
Sure, it's a one. Yeah, okay.
I
just wasn't sure what a jersey really meant, but it's an all-in-one. It covers. It's got little sleeves, so partially covers his arms and his legs as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty
but
cool.
It's red with a yellow J, and it's cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a really good design. I'm kind of annoyed.
Actually,
Nintendo didn't adopt it.
That color scheme matches the tie that he would later wear, right?
Ooh, it does.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're just noticing things.
It's like it's a very modern design on the character for a cereal that came out in 1983.
Yeah, and the face is a lot more authentically ape-like. My favorite thing about this new design is that it's furrier, because the original Junior design has very flat shading on the colored fur parts of his body, and this one's all shaggy. It makes it a lot more fun, I think.
It's just such a good design. But
yeah, and you can see it in action in the commercial.
Yeah, and as this commercial, I think, has even better animation than the Donkey Kong cereal commercial.
I prefer the Donkey Kong one just because I love that aesthetic, the cabinet art aesthetic. You know, that's
true.
Fair.
That's a great design.
Yeah, on the one hand, the Donkey Kong commercial is very faithful to the designs from the game, whereas this one redesigns the main character, but we actually like the new design. So it depends what you...
They're both good, though.
Yeah, yeah.
They sell the cereal to you. That's what matters.
Yeah, so with the commercial, they're really leaning into the jungle-y aesthetic of the opening portions of the game, where trees spring up and there's birds flying past and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Junior's there with the fruits, and he actually talks in this commercial. As he swings past, he says, "It's wild with fruit flavor," which
you gotta love that.
Yeah, is an interesting point. It establishes that Kongs, or at least Junior, is able to speak English fluently.
Something that's not always established.
Yeah, in the Supercade, because again, we haven't got to the Supercade yet. We do need to have you back, Tonya, for a Supercade episode.
A Supercade.
But there's a Junior show, and he talks in that, doesn't he?
Yes, and he's very Scrappy Doo-ish, which is
appropriate.
It
is literally the same voice actor.
It is?
Oh.
Holy shit!
Yes.
But yeah, no, that's super appropriate because Donkey Kong over in his Supercade show sounds like Scooby-Doo. Is it the same voice actor over there as well?
No, it's not. It's not.
No, it's Soupy Sales, isn't it?
Oh, this is blowing my mind.
But Donkey Kong Jr. was literally Scrappy-Doo. It is.
Wow.
And Mario and Pauline's van is literally the Mystery Machine.
It really is.
Mario Circus. I like Mario's voice for this for that show too, but that's another day.
It's remarkably generic. It's amazing. I love it.
I mean, compared to the other video games on that show, Donkey Kong ended up as one of the best, like faithfully, basically. In my opinion,
that's fair, I suppose.
Like you look at Q-Berts, that's a disaster. Then.
So, given you've put a note here in the show notes saying, "Do we know who originated this redesign for Junior?"
Yeah,
and I'm gonna say no, but
but
if we ever do find them, I want to shake their hand.
I know, right?
Thank you, Ralston artist from 1980 something. Regardless, these two cereals are. I think Ralston made one more Nintendo cereal afterwards, but that's for the next. That's another interesting.
We'll get that in a bit, but like the Donkey Kong cereal, Junior had a bunch of activities on the box and mail-ins and prizes and stuff. There was a Pez dispenser.
Oh,
Pez dispenser.
The purchase order for the Pez dispenser.
I wonder if I can.
That's
find
kind of an amazing
eBay.
thing. We need to put a link to this in the show notes because it's absurd. It's really badly modeled. I don't know if there were I don't know if there were different standards for what Pez dispenser molding was like in the 80s, but what I actually read was that the head that they used for this Pez dispenser is reusing a much earlier existing Pez model. So this Pez fan site has it listed saying the head is the same as the 1967 Monkey Sailor Pez dispenser. And as such, Junior is wearing a hat. And they've added a J to the hat to make it Donkey Kong Jr.
What?
But that's actually interesting in that this associated merchandise is another redesign of Junior in a way, giving him a hat, which we haven't seen before.
Which ended up on Diddy, since that'd be the first case.
Anyway.
Chris Sutherland. No, who designed them? It was Steve Mails, right?
Ken Bayless?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't remember. One of those people must have had a bowl of the cereal and they got a Pez dispenser. And they're like, oh, mate, this... Look at it.
Oi, mate, oi!
It looks like Donkey Kong.
I actually had a Diddy Kong Pez dispenser as a kid. I used it a lot, and I dropped it a lot, which is why its foot is broken and its hat is chipped.
Oh, no.
But I love that thing.
Pez's are honestly underrated, but...
Yeah, Pez
Well, I still don't think that the actual lolly bits taste very good, but...
I like them.
It's a fun novelty.
I hope they make Pez cereal. Yuck.
So given you mentioned the giveaways that they did, they also had baseball card giveaways with the Donkey Kong Jr. cereal. But you also mentioned the game books. So we talked about the activity books on our Western Comics episode a while back, there were the Donkey Kong coloring and activity books, but when they made junior ones, it was just activities and no story and no coloring pages. But I'm not sure if what they're giving away here is the same as those ones that we had discussed previously, but I feel like it must be. They don't show cover art, there's sort of placeholder art, but they do say there's 3 different volumes that you can get. And the way they describe it sounds similar to how those other game books were described that I'm familiar with, how they have puzzles and mazes and stuff.
Yeah, and the sort of generic placeholder art looks to be sort of evocative of the stuff we know about. So,
and I think the time frame is right.
Yeah, I think so as well.
So that's fun.
I would love to have those books just because that's an actual like tangible, like not a useless thing that it probably has some interesting lore in it.
Oh yeah, they've got some great stuff in those books. Like Pauline being a singer is from those books.
But with these books for the Donkey Kong Jr., would they be like a separate books, or would they be just the same ones from? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I have a feeling they might be the same ones, but if they're not, they would be insanely rare and difficult to find.
Yeah.
For the avid Donkey Kong collector. Oh, that's just the coolest stuff. Serial lore.
Yeah, it's awesome. But speaking of extremely rare collectibles, there's only one other item that fits into arcade era serial stuff.
Yeah.
And that would be a giveaway of the Nelsonic Donkey Kong Game Watch that happened with Kellogg's Cornflakes in 1994.
Ooh, gotta love my cornflakes. No, that's the wrong cereal I'm thinking about there. What is it? Gotta have my corn pops. It's a different entirely.
Yeah. Well, this isn't a themed cereal. There were only 2 that applied to the arcade era.
Yeah.
But
I think Cornelius the rooster must have been friends with Donkey Kong.
That is an excellent headcanon. I like that one.
Yeah, he's Drumstick's grandfather or something. He's friends with Cranky.
Yeah, that's why. I don't know. Is that actually his name?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's the same name. I didn't make it up on top of my head.
I know that you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a giveaway for a Nelsonic Game Watch that was put out as a tie-in promotion for the 1994 Game Boy Donkey Kong game that sort of came out as a hey, people remember Donkey Kong before Donkey Kong Country came out, and is sort of the arcade half of the Donkey Kong revival of 1994, and featured the first appearance of like the now recognizable tie design and stuff. And this was a little LCD game watch specifically modeled after one level of Donkey Kong 94, which I believe you pegged as
1-7.
1-7, yeah. And it's a fun little thing. I own one. I'm holding it right now.
I'm jealous.
It's pretty basic. What is interesting about the cereal promotion is that the watch displayed on the back of the cereal box does not match the one I'm holding. The actual liquid crystal display part of the watch depicts a different level on the cereal box. It looks kind of mock-up-ish. It's based on 1-1 from the arcade game.
Yes.
But there's no ladders. So I'm wondering if this is just sort of a mock-up of...
Well, he might get to the end and then jump up to the next platform, possibly.
Isn't that the game where Mario could jump on his... Or was that added in Donkey Kong, Mario versus Donkey Kong, where Mario could handstand and go, whoop, whoop. I forgot.
Yeah, he had the handstand in 94, and
that's possible.
And that gave him a higher jump.
He kind of do that.
Yeah, what we don't really know is whether what's shown on the back of this box was a separate game or whether it's just a mock-up, because it's we can't find any pictures
Yeah.
of the watch outside of this picture
I've
printed on the back of a cereal box.
scoured eBay and the internet, and I have not been able to
Mm.
find any pictures of physical watches that exist that people have taken pictures of that match what's on the back of this cereal box.
Yeah, it's hard to
So-
identify because they had a similar promotion with the Star Fox game watch, which differed from the later release in the layout of the buttons, so it's easier to identify. But this one has the same layout of the buttons between the serial promotion and the commercial release, and the same artwork around the face and on the band. So the really the only way to tell would be to look closely at what's depicted on the face, or else also the buttons. You said they're blue on the cereal box, but they're yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Granted, mine's pretty faded, so maybe they were blue in a past life. But
I'm leaning towards their mock-up basically, because stuff like that does. I'm reminded of the Rayman and Raving Rabbit's instruction manual. This is a weird tangent, but it's related to an extent, where it just mentions so many. It mentions so many things that just aren't in the game. It's weird.
yeah,
So, I
that
mean-
happens sometimes.
That's strange.
Like entire plot points that aren't in the game. It's so weird.
That happened with Sonic 06. There's stuff in the manual and stuff in the player's guide that didn't make it into the final retail version of the game.
There's a movie. No, I'm not going to talk about it. No. No.
Oh, and I just read that the demo has bug fixes that aren't in the retail release for Sonic 06. Anyway,
That there's not much you could say about cornflakes, but they're tasty.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Sure.
cornflakes.
I've
Add
never
a little
eaten them
sugar.
without some kind of additional sweetener that I add myself.
Milo
That's 'cause
is
I have a
so
I
sweet
didn't.
bad.
I didn't even know adding sweetener to cereal was a thing because my parents just
Really?
never told me that.
It's not hard. You put a spoon in a jar of sugar and
No, like they somehow kept from me that this was a thing.
wow.
Like they're like, he doesn't need any more sugar. We'll just not tell him about this.
That's a fair point.
To be fair, I believe that adding your own sugar might be better than already sweetened cereal.
I think it
In
depends
some
on the
cases.
cereal.
Because the original... Look, I'm going to get into attention about the first sugary cereal, but maybe not now.
I mean,
But
Well, I did want to ask both of you what's your favorite and what do you eat for breakfast regularly?
oh, growing up, I was definitely enamored with like Captain Crunch and stuff. So I probably would have loved the
Crunch.
Donkey Kong cereal had I gotten a hold of it. These days, if I get cereal, it's usually like Raisin Bran, honestly, which is still pretty sugary because they sugar the heck out of those raisins.
Oh. And dried fruit already has a lot of natural sugars, which is the sort of hidden sugar that they don't like to tell you about.
but I would imagine that hidden... the sugar from the fruit is probably better than artificial sugar.
That's
It depends how you
debatable.
define better.
Yeah.
What about you,
That's fair.
Tonya?
So I personally enjoy when I'm in a sugary mood. It's Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Oreo O's. Those are the
Oh my
three best
goodness.
cereals of all time.
That
However,
sounds very sweet indeed.
those they're all desserts basically. That's how you eat them. Don't. But as for like actual like cereal, which is also an art of its own, because I think it's harder to make a good quote unquote boring cereal. But I feel that probably my favorite boring cereal has to be just wheat, like just mini wheats, frosted mini wheats, but still. they're
I'm
still
also an unironic fan of grape nuts. So
good. Grape nuts are fun.
yeah.
I don't really know a lot of the cereals you're talking about.
Do you know about Cocoa Pebbles?
No.
Okay.
We had a similar thing, I think, which was like a bigger, chunkier Cocoa Pop.
Like there's some things that are like they're cereals. They're made to be put in a bowl with milk, and they ostensibly try to do that thing. And then there's stuff that's just like, this is cookies in a bowl. Why have you put cookies in a bowl?
My favorite as a child was Grinners, which were a honey-flavored little smiley face thing, and they were very tasty, but then they stopped making them. I guess the company went out of business or something.
Oh,
But I also ate a lot of Crispix, both honey and chocolate variations.
Crispix are the shit. Good choice.
Well, I did like Special K a lot for a while, which is a cereal that's very heavily marketed towards adult women, but I really like the taste.
Crispix and Chex are great.
Yeah, they are. These days I just eat Wheat Bix every day, which is not something that you guys have, I found out. But they're like...
Weetabix.
Weetabix is the British version. Ours is Wheat Bix. I think it's a different company.
I wish we did have it because I've seen some of their insane commercials. I want dubstepping bears. Why can't we have dubstepping bears?
That sounds great. That's not the kind of marketing I'm used to.
Have you not seen those commercials? They're on YouTube.
It's probably the British version, right?
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Just YouTube search Weetabix dubstep. It's insane.
All of that for a boring, healthy cereal. I'm being mean.
Yeah, they get cricketers to endorse Wheat Bix over here. But I just like them. I do put Milo on them, or I did put Milo on them before I started boycotting Nestle. Now I get the Aldi knockoff of Milo.
But yeah, so that's kind of it for arcade era related cereal stuff. There weren't any DK3 cereals, which is a shame because Stanley deserves more recognition.
Yeah, they could have made shapes out of the bugs or something.
There also weren't any Mario Bros. Cereals, which is insane. I suppose there's the more recent, like, Super Mario Odyssey themed Mario cereal.
Well, that would be Super Mario.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can go into that now. There's other video game cereals that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Not that many, though, like I said earlier.
Yeah, that was surprising.
It is surprisingly like a limited, market for some reason. Like the Sunday Fun Days?
Yeah.
There was a cereal that was this, it was based on, I believe, King Features or some other, like, syndication comics, but it was basically like little smiley faces, and in the box there was comics that you read alongside while you're eating breakfast. But I'm surprised there wasn't like a video game version of that for other companies. Well, there was one, but which I guess we'll be talking about soon. But
it's a short list, and we can go through it quickly. General Mills in 1983 had their Pac-Man cereal.
Also featured on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
This one's even more boring. It's... I'll tell you what this is.
Yeah.
So the Pac-Man cereal is basically a corn cereal with, I believe with marshmallows, right? Yeah, it had marshmallows.
They call them marshmallows, but they're nothing like real marshmallows.
Yes. So what Marbits? That's what the cereal fans call it.
The cereal fandom.
The Marbits are basically the term
also
for...
made of melted horse bits.
Marshmallows and cereal are nothing like real marshmallows. That's kind of why I don't like them.
Yeah, I don't like them at all.
But anyway, the cereal was basically Kix cereal with marshmallows. Maybe a bit more sweet, but Kix, if you don't know, is... Milo, do you know what Kix is by any chance?
No.
About Gibbon?
Yeah, I know what Kix is.
Okay, so it's even more boring than cornflakes.
Wow.
Impossible. Is it all bran?
It's just corn, slightly sweetened. Like, I assume it's very bland. So if you notice, the name Kix is very similar to Trix, and that's because Trix was a spin-off of that cereal.
Oh, wow.
Which is the more...
I guess that makes sense. If they were just sort of flavored balls of corn puff before, that would be sort of...
Yes.
Yeah, they're little spheres, which in the context of the Pac-Man cereal is meant to represent the Power Pellets.
Which, in actuality, it's just very lazy.
And they had the Marbits in shape of Pac-Man and the Ghosts, and I think Miss Pac-Man as well.
I do like the shapes, though. They're pretty nice. Not all cereals have good shapes, so to say. So, like, for Lucky Charms, whereas much as I don't like it, I love the shape of the marshmallows. They're iconic.
Hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, and side note, I saw a reference that there might have been a Q*bert cereal. This is sort of a stablemate to Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. They were all on Saturday Supercade, weren't they? Was Pac-Man? I'm not
Why
sure.
wasn't there a Frogger
Pac-Man was not
cereal?
on it, but Pac-Man had his own.
There's rumors that a Q*bert cereal existed, but no actual
rumor.
evidence of it.
I would say no then, just because it would have been documented somewhere.
Yeah,
In my
you'd think
opinion.
so. If Mr. Breakfast doesn't have it, then I don't believe it exists.
For real, like Mr. Breakfast has pages for like stuff from the 1920s. So,
Good grief, that's awesome.
But-
yeah, you were talking about shaped Marbits. The Nintendo Serial System in 1988
Yeah.
was Ralston's later licensed Nintendo cereal.
this is pretty cool as an idea, but
It's a weird idea. Much like the Valiant comics and the animated series at the time, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show had a Zelda portion. This is a split license where you get Super Mario Brothers and Zelda in one box.
Yeah.
And how did they separate the cereals?
That's a good question. I'm
well,
not
I know
sure.
the answer. I was just asking to
Mm.
to be a podcaster, but what I read was that there were two vertical bags that were put in lengthways into the box to match the aesthetic of the box, which was split vertically down the middle with the two different brandings on either side.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So Super Mario Brothers was fruity flavor and Zelda was berry flavor, and they had shapes. Were they Marbit shapes or were they just shaped cereals?
they were just shapes. The commercial is pretty funny because in the commercial, it's actually a pretty cool commercial for the time, but
Yeah.
like they show all Mario, Bowser, Koopa, like being transformed into cereal pieces, and Mario just looks like a stick figure guy. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm-
was going to say. The shapes
I'm
are
looking at a
very, very
picture of it.
approximated from what they're supposed to represent, I would say.
Link's even funnier, I think. It's the purple guy.
Yeah, he's just a little purple guy. It's great. I love it.
Now, I'm not sure what exactly the cereal's made out of, but I can make a guess that this is basically, once again, tricks and a berry form of kicks, basically.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Especially if it's corn. If it's corn,
Everything's
corn is one of cereal fans' biggest love it or hate it, because oats are considered a better,
We don't know
cereal.
actually. That's why you're here.
Right.
Well,
But oats are
is
considered-
actually a cereal grain. Like,
Yes.
I suppose if you're going to be a cereal
When
purist,
they changed the the formula for Count Chocula and those other monster cereals to corn based, people thought that those cereals are basically no longer like good. Basically, they're only popular for the aesthetic.
no, sorry, corn is a cereal grain. It's wheat, millet, rice, barley, oats, rye. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Sorghum and maize.
Yeah, it is sorghum.
Sorghum.
No, I know how to pronounce sorghum. I don't know how to pronounce. What is this? Triticale? I don't know.
Oh, triticale, yeah.
Never heard of that one. I'm a big fan of
No.
sorghum, by the by.
But yeah, this Nintendo cereal is a very cool, interesting concept, but it's also just this huge gimmick. Now, there is something interesting I want to talk about if we're done with Nintendo cereal.
Just one more point that I wanted to make about it was that it was cool that it had the consistent branding, because the Nintendo Entertainment System had these spin-off products. Like I said, the
Oh yeah,
Valiant comics were called Nintendo Comic System, and so the cereal was called Nintendo Cereal System.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
it's,
that
a,
is
it's a
kinda
very
neat.
cute. It's very
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah, that's some strong brand synergy there.
Before we move on to some more general cereal stuff, there were a couple more Nintendo themed cereals.
Well,
which
before we talk about that too, I want to bring up a quick point.
Well, before you talk about that, no, sorry,
yes,
go on.
yes. So this is the final Ralston cereal on our list, I believe.
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so in the 90s, Ralston basically sold off their brands to General Mills, where they now make Cookie Crisp and what was the other one? Chex cereal.
Chex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those two so their big brands are basically they got gobbled up basically. And Ralston nowadays they make cereal as just a generic cereals for supermarkets around the world basically. And
like the ones you buy in big bags and stuff.
those are actually by post, but
okay.
But they box cereal that's generic, which is also a pretty big thing. But there's an interesting fact that their generic Cookie Crisp cereal is the original Cookie Crisp recipe.
Ooh.
Which was changed by General Mills after they bought it out.
Oh, yeah, I think you've told me about this before.
And I have a theory that their Captain Crunch generic could be the original recipe to Donkey Kong cereal.
Ooh.
Perhaps. Therefore, if you buy a Ralston...
I need to look this up.
If you buy a Ralston generic Captain Crunch, it might just be the original Donkey Kong cereal.
Yeah, that's fascinating because we can't eat a lot of these cereals that we're talking about now because they were discontinued 30 years ago or 35 years ago. But yeah, if the recipe survives like that, that's pretty cool. And then you can just pretend that Mario is hitting you in the face with a hammer while you're eating it.
You know, just imagine.
Yeah.
We joke about it, but it is a real fact that stuff's always reused. So,
what is the generic Captain Crunch called? Do you know?
I have no idea. I'm still trying to research, but
that's fair. That's fine.
But it's very possible it could be Donkey Kong cereal right down to the shape, basically. However, I have no further leads onto that. But I do know for a fact their Cookie Crisp generic Cookie Crisp is the original.
Okay. Good to know.
Well, yeah. So in my research, I found a couple of other video game cereals that I'll mention really briefly. In 2000, in Australia at least, because that's the commercial that I saw, Kellogg's had a Pokemon-themed cereal. It was made of toasted oats with Marbits themed after some of the more round or blobby Pokemon designs that they could easily make Marbits out of. Those being Ditto, Poliwhirl, Oddish, and Pikachu. They couldn't leave out Pikachu, of course.
Of course you can, but...
And in 2006, General Mills had a Neopets Island Berry Crunch. I don't know anything about that, but it exists.
Now, for the Pokemon cereal, by the way,
yes.
I don't remember that, but I do remember the Pokemon Pop-Tarts, which
I
believe were part of the same promotion, because they came out during the second movie, I think.
Yeah, there's a variant of the box that has Marill on it and some other Gen 2 Pokemon as well.
And I'm just surprised they never brought back that Pop-Tart brand, because it's a really good Pop-Tart. I remember it distinctly.
Maybe it's because, the way the box is situated, it kind of looks like you're eating baked Pikachus.
I mean, yeah, but why not? I mean, in the newest game...
Fruit-flavored blood. Wild cherry flavor.
There's this very strange thing in the new game where you could actually make Slowpoke curry. Which is
you eat Slowpoke tails.
That's such an odd continuity carry.
Because earlier in the series, that was a clearly villainous move that Team Rocket was doing.
Well, it might have been that Team Rocket was doing it unhumanely. While
it's like shark fin harvesting or whatever. I don't know. And now Galar region's just making curry out of it.
It's strange. It's weird.
It is strange and weird. I love it. And then, of course, in 2017,
yes,
there was the Super Mario cereal, which was Super Mario Odyssey branded with
the biggest disappointment ever.
The biggest disappointment that I couldn't find any because they didn't stock any near me. But in addition to the dedicated Super Mario cereal, there were Super Mario Odyssey promotions on a bajillion other cereals as well. So you just kind of saw Mario all over the cereal aisle for a while.
Yeah, when I was searching for this episode, there were other video game-based promotions for cereals, but today we're only talking about proper themed cereals, and this Super Mario cereal was one of them.
Yeah.
It had the Marbit shapes that we were talking about, in Mario themed shapes, and the flavor was mixed berry apparently.
Now, do you mind if I go on a small tangent here, a rant about Super Mario cereal in particular?
Please do.
Or what it
Go
represents. So, Kellogg's for the longest time has been Super Mario cereal is the same cereal as Frozen cereal. It's the same as Toy Story 4 cereal. It's the same as so many other countless just generic cereals they produced, where all they do is basically this: they make it Lucky Charms with Marbits that are kind of like a movie, and then they slap it on, and that's it basically. Or not even that. It might even be vague shapes basically. So it's a endless trend, and the only one I think that got a lot of attention was the Mario cereal, just because it's a Nintendo cereal. But it's not that impressive, and they kind of suck. And like, I know it's kind of a killjoy thing to say that your Mario cereal is like represents a horrible trend in cereal, but
so quick side note. I've discovered what the Ralston Captain Crunch knockoff is called. It's Crisp Crunch.
Crisp Crunch.
Crisp Crunch. You gotta locate it.
Also, can you tell me what the amiibo card that was included in the cereal box, what it did in the game?
As far as I know, it was just sort of a generic amiibo scan. Like, it didn't net you coins and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It did something kind of interesting, though. It had this there's like this character in Mario Odyssey. I forgot their name. It was like a little amiibo robot that you scanned with.
Oh yeah.
I forgot its name, but it would tell you like something about the character sometimes. And like, oh, this is a delicious amiibo. That's what it said.
Yeah. Ooh, nice.
So it did have a small like.
Interesting.
Basic.
Okay, that's cute. Cool.
So that will bring the serial portion of the show to a close, but there's a couple other things we could mention if we want to.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So you linked to me before the episode started, Tonya, this advert for Coco Pops in 2018.
Yes, so Coco Pops is the international name of Cocoa Krispies. Which
that's what I'm familiar with.
Which, as I've discovered, I originally thought Monkey was an international mascot only, but our original version used the Coco the Monkey as the mascot, which then over time was phased out in favor of the Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Yeah, which is pretty greedy of them, because they're already the mascots of Rice Bubbles, so why do they get two cereals?
The thing about Rice Krispie, or the Cocoa Krispies, is that the Flintstones are more like the icon for that type of cereal here in the U.S.
Huh.
Thanks to Cocoa Pebbles.
Mm-hmm.
So,
they're still relevant in that way?
Yes.
Yeah, the Flintstones are still the Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles
That's
mascots
interesting,
even
because
today.
that might be the only way that kids these days would know the Flintstones, maybe.
Nope.
Yeah.
Vitamins.
Can you imagine that if we got a cereal based on let's say based on Blinks the Time Cat, and that cereal became a huge hit, and then we just like all we know is
insane.
Blinks the Time Cat, great cereal.
I should buy those trademarks and put out some Blinks cereal.
Yeah, Microsoft let them lapse, so
because it's all the trademarks are
up.
for the merchandising stuff, so I could just buy all the merchandising trademarks. And,
Be a George Lucas.
Anyway, the Coco Pops advert that Tonya showed me, the reason that she linked it was that it was very inspired by Donkey Kong Country. You have Coco the monkey in his new design, which I prefer the old one, but whatever. He's riding a minecart pursued by a humanoid crocodile creature, who might be part of the Coco Pops lore, I'm not sure. And they go on this like crazy ride around a volcano and then surfing down a water slide or something. But the fact that it starts with a monkey being chased by a crocodile in a minecart is very relevant to my interests.
It seems like a purposeful takeoff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It might be. Who knows?
But definitely a purposeful takeoff was the other cereal that came out of Bangladesh, I believe, Mr. Chocos by Sajib.
This is a pretty good one. It became a meme online for a while. It's a pretty interesting, like, I'm not sure what the art's from. I think it's from one of the Mario parties, or not Mario Party, no, one of the Mario sports games maybe.
Yeah, maybe baseball.
Right, and it's Diddy Kong, and they photoshopped a spoon behind him, and he's holding it.
Yeah, it's literally just Diddy Kong behind some chocolate cornflakes.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's pretty, it's pretty funny. Like, I've seen the Sonic knockoffs too, who's more popular for fake cereals. So it's pretty cool that Diddy Kong got his own knockoff. But
yeah, it's funnier when bootleg stuff redraws a character slightly or does a slightly off take on it. But when they're just slapping a literal render of Diddy Kong from a Mario game on there, it's pretty lazy.
So I did just remember something that I should mention before we're done with this, but there is a modern Pac-Man cereal.
Oh yeah?
It's and a modern Sonic cereal that's official. Unfortunately, they are part of another trend I hate to an extent, to which I'll this will be the first time Milo and Given have seen what I'm talking about. But there's Funko Pop cereals that are made for countless.
I thought those were jokes.
These are made for countless brands, and I actually don't hate Funko Pops. I actually collect them sometimes.
Sure.
But my issue of these cereals is that they're all the same cereal. Like, there's nothing. If you thought just putting marshmallows on these cereals was lazy, these are just O's that are like colored like a character.
Wow.
And the gimmick is that these are cereal. This is real cereal sold for like $15 with a fun toy inside. So there's the gimmick is meant to replicate those getting the Pez dispenser from from DK Jr cereal. Like, it's meant to replicate that feeling. But I feel it feels kind of hollow and corporate. Like, you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, much like Funko Pops themselves.
I don't hate them, but
I'm just yanking your chain.
But there's also another really cool one that they did. That Sega that's very just kind of, it was done for promotion basically, so it's nothing special. But I think it feels more authentic. It's Gold Ring cereal, which was I believe it was to promote the Sega Genesis Mini. I
remember that.
Or it was meant to promote something.
Yeah, like it's Golden O's, but at least that's thematically appropriate to Sonic.
Yeah, it's a very cute cereal. It would probably be really cool to have as a just to have it, but there's nothing special about it. But unlike the Funko Pop ones, it's not being sold everywhere. It's just a promotional item. And what I'm saying is, I hate the cereals. Besides from the Sonic one I just posted. That's basically the gist of this tangent. Is I feel that the commercialization of cereal fandom has so blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's not good for the cereal medium as a whole. You're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I digress. If anybody likes these, that's cool. It might be cool to have a box of Sonic or Pac-Man cereal, but I'd rather have a 80s box of Pac-Man cereal that's just unopened.
Yeah, these are pretty fun.
Yes, but I think that's about it for this.
Well, for this section, we're gonna flip it on its head real quick.
Yeah,
and talk about cereal-themed video games.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes,
I read the document too.
Yeah, because we've talked about cereals based on video games, but there's quite a few video games based on cereal. The most famous, of course, would be Chex Quest. I think that's what everyone would think of first.
I don't know. Everyone says Chex Quest, but I think of the Captain Crunch cereal, but maybe that's just because I'm a little older.
Yes, so the Captain Crunch cereal game. I'm not sure if we're thinking about the same one. I think we are. The Tamagotchi-like one.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of.
Interesting.
No, I'm talking about Captain Crunch Crunchling Adventure.
Yeah, that's a Tamagotchi.
No, it's not.
Yeah, Yeah, it's a Tamagotchi.
No, I'm looking at the PC game with rendered graphics and stuff.
Yeah, that's a Tamagotchi. Well, it has Tamagotchi aspects in it.
Mm.
Because if I recall specifically, that game's plot line involved like you had to raise a creature in order to save the crunchy and mines or something or whatever.
I guess you're right. But also the mini games are way more involved than Tamagotchi.
That is correct. It actually resembles a lot of later Tamagotchis in that you raise stats by playing mini games.
I love this sort of era of PC games where you had these like way too detailed pre-rendered graphics but not integrated properly with the rest of the scene. You know what I mean?
I do.
It looks great, but that's
yeah.
That's
Was Crunchling Adventure a giveaway in the cereal box?
Yes.
Cool.
It was a giveaway. It came with 100 hours of American Online. So.
Oh yeah, of course it did. A lot of stuff did back then, didn't it? But that's how a lot of these became so well known, because they were so widely available, being free giveaways in the cereal box.
Basically.
Yeah. So you mentioned Cap'n Crunch's Crunchling Adventure. We talked about Chex
Beautiful
Quest.
game.
There's a British one called Weetabix versus the Titchies.
Of course there is.
I have no idea what that could be. Period.
It exists. I'm not going to tell you any more about it because I didn't do any in-depth research for this section. There was a German one with two variations, Guldkorn and Kallaspuffs Expressen, where you're a bear mascot driving a train. Tony and Friends New Adventures Invasion in Kellogg's Land, which I believe is a 3D platformer.
Wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. That's probably the one that interests me most. But you, Tanya, mentioned these ones from the Xbox 360 era. Which brand was it that was doing these?
It was so I originally thought it was Coco Krispies only.
Yeah.
But it was apparently being advertised on several Kellogg cereals. So I believe each cereal had a different game that came. It's a Game & Watch style game that
these little self-contained LCD
super generic too. They look, and I feel that in my theory is that these were just generic games that were made that afterwards they got the branding from Xbox basically as the partner because they are beyond like simple. These are below Game & Watch in terms of like graphics and everything. It's really interesting. But these were Xbox 360 branded, and I know this because I remember mentioning the Heil before in the past. Like, oh, what if these one of these games had Banjo-Kazooie in it by any chance? Would it be DKU? Because this counts as a video game.
Sure, it does. I would say so.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's interesting because the common thought is that Xbox doesn't have handheld games, but right here they do, right?
They're the only one. Could have played Viva Pinata on one of these things, I bet. But it was a limited promotion, and I think these are you can still find them on eBay. Because I did remember seeing them. So
interesting.
If anyone's interested in trying them and giving an update, I'd be cool. But I believe that they are super generic. So, which I mean, it's not like a dig against them, but yes, I find them for like $4, $5 on eBay. Might it be worth getting them? But it's so weird. Like, these really had to have been a last minute branding. Because all it has basically is the Xbox colors, the white and green from that era.
How surreal. Anyway, yeah, fun stuff. Do we want to give any shout-outs and plugs?
What about you, Milo?
Let me see. Recently, I've been playing this. I'm going to recommend putting your kitten in another room.
Yeah, Milo.
When
got a
you
new
record
cat.
a podcast. That's my plug.
Kitties are good. Don't be mean, Milo.
They're good. You might be able to hear her purring, but she's also very keen on biting my headphone cable. Anyway, I've been playing this video game a lot recently called Lethal League Blaze. It's a one-on-one fighting game, but very simple control scheme. You're hitting a ball back and forth, so it's sort of like Pong mixed with a fighting game. So it's accessible. My caveat to that is you can't change the difficulty level, but if you're playing against another human, that's fine. But the visual style is really amazing. It's in some ways homaging Jet Set Radio Future, one of my favorite video games of all time. So it's got this fun dystopian future aesthetic, but like also kind of cyberpunk and street kind of fashion stuff and cyborgs, and it's pretty cool stuff. So check that out.
Cool. Do you have anything you'd like to plug, Tonya?
So this might sound counterproductive to plug something that's already popular, I guess, but
whatever.
I want to give a shout out to Pokemon Sword and Shield for honestly being, after playing it for around 50 hours, I think it's probably my favorite Pokemon game in forever.
Right on.
For various reasons, but
good stuff.
If anyone remembers, like before this game came out, there was like a lot of backlash and just general negative vibes about how this is the worst Pokemon game ever. And a lot of those complaints were valid, and I agree with some of them, which, you know, like the whole cutting out Pokemon issue, which they've announced they're bringing back around 200 Pokemon for the DLC.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which they previously were saying was not even an option for them. So I imagine that they listened to a lot of the feedback that, yes, having a lot of Pokemon is important for people. So, but I feel these games have, I think these Pokemon games have the best designed starters in a long time. I love all three of them, but I have a obvious preference bias with Battalion, which isn't everyone's favorite. I realize that, but it struck a chord with me.
Cool.
In particular,
I'm glad you're enjoying the game.
Yeah, that is good to hear, because like you said, a lot of the discourse before it was released was pretty negative, but I have heard a lot of positive takes since it came out, and I'm glad you added your voice.
Generally, the only issue is that the story is very bad. It has a lot of good ideas that aren't handled well.
That's nothing new.
But that's Pokemon.
That's just that's Pokemon.
But like, it's not as bad as X and Y story.
As for me, I'm going to plug a book I found out about the other day. So some of you may know that I am an unashamed fan of Cats, the musical, and I enjoyed the heck out of the new film.
Really, Gibbon? But isn't it the most cringy thing ever? Hollywood's gone bankrupt with...
Anyway,
I'm teasing you.
So as you may know, Cats, the musical, is based on T.S. Eliot's book of poems, Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. What many of you probably don't know is that he had intended to write a follow-up book of poems, Old Toffer's Book of Consequential Dogs, but unfortunately passed away before he could start work on it. But just last year, his estate approached one author, Christopher Reed, who has done a lot of poems about dogs, and bade him make the book. So Old Toffer's Book of Consequential Dogs came out in May of last year, and you can buy it, and it's sort of in the style of Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats.
That's really interesting, because I just assumed that T.S. Eliot was a cat person from that, but it seems like he was playing both sides.
So
that's fun.
Old Toffer's Book of Consequential Dogs is my plug for this episode.
Excellent. Well, this has been fun. Thank you very much for coming, Tonya.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very nice talking to you about breakfast cereal. A very important part of this of your diet. Unless if you don't eat cereal, which
an important part of this complete breakfast, as they say in the commercials.
That is
correct.
correct.
About the Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. cereals by doing it.
Those are probably not the best for you, but those are probably not the best cereals for you to eat because they're stale and old. But
I'll keep that in mind next time I crack open a 35-year-old box of cereal.
Yeah.
The sweet smell. But as they say in Hawaii, aloha. I'm not sure what that means, but I think it means goodbye.